So, here we are. We're, as you may have seen in the title, we're discussing CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077, but gameplay is not being shown right now. So, while we talk, we're just going to play some of the original Witcher. For anybody that knows me, you know this is kind of foreign to me. Stay tuned for a future video where I join the PC Master Race formally. And, yeah, this one's excited about that. But, yeah, well, stay tuned for that. So I'm going to be fumbling around with a mouse and keyboard
what I want to know is he unconscious right now? Because he's, like, looking around, but all floppy.
We don't have the music on, but I'm assuming there's, like, a fat beat playing right now. He's like,
yeah,
oh, man, yeah.
It.
Anyway, so, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
You got the opportunity to play the demo.
I did. Or not play the demo.
Or view the demo being played, right?
Yeah, so CD Projekt Red had this really cool, from what I heard is like media and influencers only opportunity at E3 where they made up this like whole bar area. They had two cosplayers that were playing the male and female versions of V, which is the character that you can customize to make it for yourself. And then it was an hour-long demo of I think it's either the beginning sequence or shortly after the beginning sequence where you learn about your character, what they're doing, how you can do things, you get modifications to your character, learn a little bit more about how the functionality of the game, like I guess the mechanics of the game work. But a lot of things that they were emphasizing in the demo was just how limitless the changes are. Like you can choose to be good and it'll take you down a certain pathway. You can choose to be bad and kill everybody and it'll take you down a certain pathway, but you can't go back. You know, like you
Okay, so it's not like games like I was gonna say Mass Effect. Mass Effect's kind of a bad example, but like the other one I'm thinking of was like Watch Dogs, where like you can do things, it builds up your good guy meter. But you can also reverse that, be a bad guy, but then you can reset it. Just by.
Well, I mean, there is a dialogue tree though, so it has that in common with Mass Effect.
Okay, but it is very much so. Like once you've gone down that path, there is no turning back. You can't like kill a bunch of people and then do something nice to offset that. Like
I don't think so. As far as I know, that wasn't something that you could do. But it was mostly about how like there's a government and there's like a crime syndicate and. If you help the government kill the crime syndicate, then all the baddies are going to be after you. Or you could lie to the government, lie to the crime syndicate, and then take it all for yourself. Or, like the choices that you make are...
The way it's described, and of course, like having not seen it, like I don't know the full scope of it, but the way it's described, it sounds like similar to like Saints Row or games similar to that, where you can kind of choose a side and kind of you can do your own thing. You can side with this gang and like build up reputation with them or what have you. Now, what would you say is the one thing that differentiates, that makes it really stand out from games that have done similar things?
I think it's the futuristic feel. I mean, I feel that, and also to the customizable experience, because like for instance with The Witcher, you have this character. It's a role-playing game. You are playing this other character, whereas with Cyberpunk 2077, you're designing your character, and that's you. And it's they went through the character customization screen, not in any sort of detail, but
just enough to give you an idea.
Yeah, you can choose like things like your boob size and your hairstyle and color and eye size and whether or not you want like robotic eyes and stuff. But the thing that really stood out to me from other games is it's not just like Grand Theft Auto where you're walking through and it's a bunch of NPCs that are like, oh, like they all are doing something. There's a guy that lives at a place and he walks to a store at a certain time of day, and maybe that'll come into play with like a quest or something like that. If you interact with him at a certain time of day, he'll be
so it kind of is like kind of a cross between Grand Theft Auto and say like Majora's Mask, where the NPCs all exist. They all have a purpose. They're not just random thrown in things. They all have their own personality, their own lives, their own existence. Okay, and now granted, I made the comparison to Majora's Mask, but I mean there was like 12 characters,
Yeah.
something very finite, very small.
But it was kinda cool.
The scope of this one is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and also too, you don't have the having to go cycle back through time, but all the individual stories that especially in Majora's Mask, you like, okay, well, I'm going to do this story right now while all the other stories are going on simultaneously.
Right.
It kind of has that same element without the time rewind thing, but every
so the world is happening around you, even though you're just doing this one thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am now in the gameplay part, so I might. Oh, okay. Can I turn down the sense on this?
Yeah.
That's it might be the lowest. It might be the in-game sense, but let's see. Oh, okay.
You must pick up the sword.
Okay. Yeah, the gameplay may not be too engaging in this because we are talking at the same time, and I am completely new to this mouse and keyboard play and everything, so you're just gonna watch me flail around a bit while we talk. But
no, get that. What was the name? Salamandra Bandit? Salamandrit. Get him. Oh my god.
Oh, you gotta be targeted on him.
Your form is just beautiful.
Oh,
did you kill him?
I think he just fainted in my presence.
He was just like, ew!
Oh, there we go. Oh, okay, I see.
My name is Geralt and I bonk.
But at any rate, in the gameplay that you saw, like, pretty much everybody saw that big trailer, that big reveal trailer.
Yep.
How much of what you saw in the demo is shown in the trailer, like, or is the trailer completely a separate entity and the demo is completely different?
There's some elements that are shown in the trailer in the demo, but I feel like they approached certain, I think, modifications or showed certain modifications in the trailer that were not shown in the demo.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like, instead of having, I mean, you do have weapons, you have guns, but your weapons are also, like during the demo, you get this, you go see a doctor, and then he replaces your eyeball with this modified robotic eyeball that lets you zoom in and analyze things and target things, and then you have your arm replaced so that you can, better, faster trigger time on your gun, and you're essentially upgrading your armor and your equipment, but it's your body modifications.
Okay.
So it's kind of like
It's like was that Deus Ex?
Yeah, Deus Ex. I'd say it's more like Deus Ex.
Okay. So it sounds like they're maybe not necessarily reinventing the wheel, but they're definitely taking the game elements from predecessors to a new level.
Yes.
Maybe stepping up the game, if you will, on it. But yeah, and like I said, like that was a very exclusive demo. Like you had to be on a list and be able to get in, and Pam was lucky enough to be able to do so. But yeah, so who knows when actual gameplay will be revealed, and I don't want it to be clickbaity, so I did make sure to put in the title that this is just a discussion. There is no actual gameplay in this video. But hey, maybe you'll enjoy the Witcher, the Witcher gameplay. But at any rate, so now pretty much it sounds like you've well covered the game itself. Now, I actually got this game through what I just found out like this weekend is CD Projekt Red's own website, where you can get they had a free copy. I don't know, by the time you watch this video they might still be available, but GOG.com, and you can get your own free copy of The Witcher if you would like to play it. But so yeah, they're not just a game developer, they're kind of going the direction of Valve in that they're trying to release games and stuff too. Have you had a chance to see that at all?
We talked about before we started filming this, I've never played The Witcher. I mean, I've watched people play The Witcher, and I definitely appreciate The Witcher, and it's one of those games that I really want to play, but it's, just never came around to it. But I feel like my first introduction to CD Projekt Red's like full-on gameplay will probably be Cyberpunk 2077.
Same here. Like I might get into this game a little bit just because it was free to download, and it's worth checking out. It seems like, because it was a very well hyped game. Funny thing is, like with the Cyberpunk game, I remember seeing the trailer 6 years ago, and I was like, wow, this game looks amazing. But it was like we're just seeing that same trailer for for years. It seems like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's what happens when you get super hyped up about a game, and that's one thing that I really enjoyed about E3. Not last year, but over the last couple of years is, there's not too many games aside from Elder Scrolls 6 that was announced with no actual gameplay or hype. They're generally like, oh, okay, it's actually pretty close by. But with Cyberpunk 2077, them hinting at the game many moons ago is just like long enough that you forget about it. But fortunately, the game looks beautiful enough that it's not going to lose that hype.
Yeah. And oddly enough, what reminded me of that was just the parallels between CD Projekt Red and Valve. Mm-hmm. Because, anybody who's ever played a game ever, in the past 20 years is familiar with the Half-Life series. Yeah. And the hype that went behind them making another sequel, which at this point, it's pretty obvious that they're not going to. I mean, sorry to, break the spirits of people, but probably not going to happen because there's just been so much hype. It's going to be like a Duke Nukem scenario.
Yeah.
So hopefully, it looks like that's not going to be the case with Cyberpunk. But,
yeah. It looks beautiful. I think it's going to be a really good game, especially with The Witcher 3. Was it the Wild Hunt right?
Yeah.
I think it won an award. It wasn't Game of the Year because it wasn't a full-on game, but it got DLC. It was such good DLC, and they take that time to make the game, and it's because they want it to be a good game.
Right.
Whereas other game companies just like try to crank it out super fast. It comes out with glitches, microtransactions out the wazoo, and I think that they are very much down for the player experience instead of let's make a bunch of money with a broken game that comes out, 2 years after it's announced.
Well, oddly enough, I mean, that was what was very apparent with their website, GOG.com, is the fact that the purpose of the website, I mean, I read their mission statement, but I can't remember it verbatim, but the idea is kind of like they want to make available these games that you may not necessarily find otherwise, where like one of the first games you see on their website is like Escape from Monkey Island, which that one, that's a very popular game of old, and I'm not sure if that one was available on other, methods or not, but one of the things they wanted to do was like reach out to like whoever owned the rights to like a game that was released by a defunct developer or publisher and make them available. They want to make these games available, and obviously they're selling them. They're not giving them away like with this Witcher game, but they just wanted to make it possible. And all their games on GOG.com are DRM free, like no limitations. You can download it, wherever you want. You can play it, on whatever available platform. And now, granted, I don't know how far that extends as far as like online gameplay or streaming and whatnot, but it is still a nice touch that they do that at all.
Yeah.
But and I guess that was about all I had to say about that. But yeah. So in summary, Cyberpunk 2077, Cyberpunk 2077, looking to be an awesome game. We'll have to wait and see what more they come up with. But I mean, you having seen more than anybody else, you are super excited about it, which tells me that the demo. Now, if we remember games like, Halo 2, Watch Dogs, can't think of any other off the top of my head. But, plenty of times demos have come out and they weren't indicative of the game necessarily. Or there was stuff that they ended up changing before the release. But all those things considered, though, it still looks like it's going to be a pretty solid release. And if nothing else, I mean, the hype, plenty of people are going to pick it up. I mean, I doubt the game's going to be horrible. It may have some disappointing aspects, but, I mean, what game doesn't? But, and CD Projekt Red is really doing some cool stuff outside of Cyberpunk with their GOG.com. And I'm interested to see what else they have going on besides that, because I'm sure they have other ideas. They have another development team that I guess is helping with Cyberpunk that is going to eventually become its own studio. So, we'll have to see where that goes. But, do you have anything else to say about the game or the CD Projekt Red?
No, I actually, I'm just really excited to see CD Projekt, to see
CD Projekt Red.
To see CD Projekt Red kind of embrace the upsides and downsides to their development strategy and see them capitalize on the hype, and I'm fairly confident that they'll deliver. And maybe that's just the optimist in me, but I think that it'll be a great game, and that a lot of people are going to love it a lot, especially with the unique customization and unique experience that everybody's going to get throughout the gameplay.
Nice. And one last thing I thought of before we end this. The first-person perspective. A lot of people were disappointed that, having the third-person perspective in The Witcher, which was, obviously their bread and butter, and not having that in Cyberpunk. Like, personally, I think it's a shooter, so first-person, it lends itself. Obviously, there are third-person shooters, and there are some really good ones, but it's not. I don't necessarily consider it a bad move to make it a first-person being a shooter. What do you think?
Well, I mean, every time I think about this being a first-person or a shooter, I think about Fallout 4, where, it didn't take me out of the experience, and having a first-person perspective actually made it easier because it's easier to aim instead of, because whereas with The Witcher, you're casting spells and you're doing sword slashes, but in this one, although you'll have, like blades in your arms, but most of what you're going to be doing is shooting and using abilities from a distance and fighting in first person. I think the people that go into CD Projekt or that go into Cyberpunk 2077 with the expectation that it's going to be like a futuristic Witcher, I think that they are setting themselves up to be disappointed for the sake of the fact that they're just super attached to The Witcher. You have to understand that they're going to experiment with gameplay styles as a game development company because they want to grow, and so don't go into Cyberpunk 2077 expecting a futuristic Witcher. Let them, experiment and have fun with the gameplay and open yourself up.
It's a new IP, so you're going to have some new and different experiences for sure.
I think it's going to be fine. I think people are going to enjoy it regardless. It's just people like to be pessimistic about, oh, this game looks so awesome and it's going to be the best. And it's like, no, something's going to be wrong with it. Oh, it's microtransactions. Oh, it's first person. Like
there's always something.
There's always something,
sure.
But just remember that it's a kick-ass game that took forever to make, and it's going to be wonderful.
Yeah. So there you have it. I mean, first person perspective of the demo, and like I said, sorry we can't share any demo footage with you, but they embargoed the hell out of that. So so we can't show that. Obviously, like when we can, we will, but for now, that is all we have for you. I don't think I'm killing this guy, so we're just gonna end it on me just parrying, and you dare challenge Salamandra?
Parry.
Salamander.
Parry.
Luke Perry. Tyler Perry.
Well, make sure you guys
Perry
your way into the comments section to let us know what you think about Cyberpunk 2077, because it is an open discussion. We both want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about
if you had any disagreements or agreements, this is a new channel, so please do engage with us. It helps us to get it seen more and by more people. So if you could if you didn't like it, give a thumbs down. If you had a negative comment, please do share. I mean, we're here to make some videos, and if we can improve, we definitely would like to. But that's all for now, and thank you for watching.
Bye. Perry.
Luke Perry.
Steve Perry.
Tyler Perry. Medea. You dare challenge Medea?